For your viewing pleasure, this broadcast of the Municipal Council meeting of Alpena is made possible by the funding provided by the City of Alpena. Thank you for your generosity.
Good evening. Welcome to the Alpena City Council meeting, November 20th, 2017. Call the order, please.
Johnson?
Here.
Nielsen?
Here.
Nowak?
Here.
Sexton?
Here.
And Walagora?
Here. Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any modifications to the agenda this evening? Approval of the minutes, regular session of November 6, 2017, and closed session of November 6, 2017. Any issues, changes? Citizens appearing before council on agenda and non-agenda items are allowed 5 minutes each to address your concerns. If you'd like to do so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for our records. This is the only time this evening that you'll be allowed to address council. On the consent agenda this evening, A is bills to be allowed in the amount of $535,851.08. B is one city council reappointment to the Recreation Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on November 1st, 2020 is Phil Heath. One city council appointment to the Recreational Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring on November 1st, 2020, Jennifer Cupples. And C is the use of parking spaces by the Trolley in support of the Small Business Saturday and Home for the Howlidays on November 25th, 2017.
Have we approved the consent agenda as presented?
Second.
Nielsen?
Yes.
Nowak?
Yes.
Sexton?
Yes.
Walagora?
Aye.
Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you. Tonight we have a presentation. This is St. Paul Lutheran Girl Scout Troop will present gifts of appreciation to the City Police Department. If you'd like to come up, and Chief Jet and his crew.
We need a bigger stage.
We do. We need a bigger stage.
Taller people in the back. Come on, you gotta look what the come
We would like to thank the city police for making the city safe, for working day and night all year round, and for risking our life for us. So we made survival kits, and they say, starter for the burst of energy you may need. Hershey kisses to show our love for you. Tootsie Rolls to help you roll with the punches. Gum help everyone stick together, and Laffy Taffy to remind you that laughter is always a good stress reliever.
Lifesavers to remind us from the many times we've been on. Advisory wisdom for those split-second decisions. Heyday, because you're not doing it for the money. Peppermint Patty to help you keep your food. And Dum-Dums, because you do with a lot of them.
Well, on behalf of the Alpena Police Department girls, thank you very, very much for such a kind and generous gift. We are very fortunate to work in a community that supports us, and this is just another fine example of that. And when we have those tough days, it's things like this that make it all worthwhile. So thank you again. We appreciate it very, very much. And the officers here have come here on their own time tonight because they wanted to meet all you and to accept your gifts on behalf of the officers that couldn't be here because they are working tonight. So these guys here and gal will take your survival kits. Thank you very much again. Thank you so much.
Good job. Wow, that's so nice.
Thank you.
Because we can really survive.
Hey, Mayor, don't start talking about
If they got candy, then I'll take one.
Are you?
You guys don't even understand.
Oh, that's nice.
All right.
Oh, you're on, huh?
Today they proposed up next time. All right, next up, we skip all the way down to unfinished business. Adam Paul is here to update on state regulatory issues regarding medical marijuana.
All right, well, I'll try not to be as long as I was last time. I intend to be brief, but we'll see. Nevertheless, you guys asked me to update you on the status of the Bureau of Medical Marijuana regulations and the new regulations that have come out. Ultimately speaking, there's been some movement since I last talked to you. The Bureau did come out and note a couple different things. Number one, they said they're going to allow stacking of different growing facilities, which means that you can get numerous growing facilities in one larger facility. Well, then one of the lawmakers came out on October 31st and has proposed legislation that would prohibit stacking, noting that was not, he didn't think that was the intent of the legislator. So what's more, they make a decision and now they're still waffling. That's House Bill 5189. They did decide that the existing provisioning centers that are already in existence in different municipalities can remain open, and they have set up a process for them to get legal, and they have to be legalized by February, I believe, of next year. So in addition to that, they did come out with regulations of requirements for what it would take to run different facilities, and they have asset requirements of anywhere from $150,000 to $500,000, and they require, depending on the facility, and they require that 25% of that be liquid assets. So that's a requirement from the state. In addition, they did note that one of the things I included was an ordinance to opt out just in case. They did come out and say that we do not need to adopt an ordinance. We just, if we choose not to participate, or if we want to wait and see, we can just not take any action to the affirmative. In addition, I did provide you with the Michigan Municipal League on November 15th, as I was out my tree stand, did send an email with their thoughts on medical marijuana, one way or the next, so I would encourage you to read that. I would point you to Section 5, where they do talk about the lack of regulations from the License and Regulatory Authority. So they do say that right now the state seems uninterested in doing more than vetting the applicants, and leaving local governments to decide who gets to operate it, and then they know which is the hard part. So that state will do a little. They're not really interested in choosing who should be approved. They'll just approve based on that, and that's one of the things that staff was concerned about. And then they do note that recreational marijuana. And I just want to read one quick quote. It says, depending on how the recreational marijuana question is framed, any regulations that are adopted now will likely need to be revisited and revised. So that's a direct quote from them. So in any case, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have, but that's where we're at. What's changed since last time we talked?
How much?
From my perspective, I mean, obviously you just received this, so I know at some point the decision will have to be made, do we do anything or not do anything at this time? And I would perhaps suggest, since you just got it, if you want to take the next couple of weeks, something to do while you're digesting your Thanksgiving turkey, and read this, and then perhaps we can put it on next month, or first meeting in December, I think it's on the 4th, and then you can perhaps at that point be giving us direction of what you want to do.
Do either of you have any idea? I know they're kicking around the emergency rules right now. I call them kicking around. Based on their history and, working with them, is there a time frame that normally is come up with? Are we talking this could be 6 months, this could be a year before permanent
Final
regulation?
June kind of
Yeah,
thing.
like a final based on that.
Well, based on other things they've done, it could be months, several months, or it could be a year, because for them to get the rules and regulations, then if you get the legislature wanting to step in, as Adam just mentioned regarding the one issue of stacking, things could be kind of a moving target for a little while.
Okay.
Could be shorter if everybody just kind of agrees and gets their act together. We just have to play it by ear on that.
Okay.
Some off-the-cuff estimates that have been given is they probably won't starting to issue actual licenses until February, and I think that's why they chose the date of the existing medical marijuana facility dispensaries, that they can remain open and they don't have to be formally engaged till that time. Still, that could be optimistic from other things I've talked about. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, they'll start doing the licensing and hopefully, and from their perspective, hopefully issuing licenses in February, but still under the emergency rules more than likely. When they'll really finalize things, because just knowing the state, it's anybody's guess.
And I don't know if your recommendation is to actually put it on another meeting or just wait until Adam has enough information to bring us more updated.
We could do that, because
right now, doing nothing is doing nothing.
Right.
Nothing wrong with doing nothing.
I'd say if there's any updates, that may make more
Yeah.
sense, than just putting it again and saying, well,
That's
we
fine.
didn't learn anything new, and, we're still not taking any action on that till.
Is that okay with
to
you?
get that?
Yeah, and what I can do is if there are small updates here and there, I can just come up during the public comment period and just give you guys very quick updates then, and we won't have to have it on the agenda unless you want it.
We can do this anytime if the council decides they want to move ahead with any aspect. There's no requirement to get it done by a certain time frame. Whether you did it now, whether you do it in 3 months, or you do it in a year. It's strictly up to each individual community.
What was your plan with the committee? Because part of the committee's, one of the issues that the committee had was that the legislation just was too confusing and not smoothed out properly. And probably weren't the words you used, but so when they put out, supposedly in December, they're going to put out the emergency rules, so to speak. Does the committee expect to get back together and go over them and see if it's any better for the ones that had issues with that, or?
Ultimately speaking, the intent was the committee to generate a report, which they did.
Yeah.
If there's significant changes, I suppose we could meet again. Right now, there is no plan. Ultimately speaking, it's up to council's direction to say which direction we want to go, and if we are going to proceed and work on allowing these facilities, then we need to move forward with the planning commission as well as the police power ordinance. So.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Adam. New business, we have electrical and fiber optic maintenance contract. Mr. Sullinger.
The electrical and fiber optic maintenance bid was awarded to Thunder Bay Electric in 2012, with the contract allowing for 2 additional 5-year renewals. Tim Wadrinski, president of Thunder Bay Electric, has indicated his desire to renew the contract for an additional 5 years. For 2018, the hourly rates will stay at the 2017 current rates, with a 2% increase for each of the following years. If awarded, the new contract will expire on December 31st, 2022. In no case shall the contract be extended beyond December 31st, 2027. And just so council's aware, Thunder Bay Electric provides all of our mistake locating services. They perform the maintenance on the street lighting system. They'll be out and have started actually troubleshooting the Christmas lights to make sure that they're all going to be functioning when we turn them on. Any of our other electrical and fiber optic maintenance activities would typically fall to them. There's certain things that city crews cannot do because we're not licensed electricians in certain work. And I've discussed it with our electrical inspector about things that we can do and cannot do. So this basically covers all of the things that we cannot do or don't have the resources to do. For a price comparison, I inserted the table that shows the previously hourly rates versus the proposed hourly rates. After reviewing the proposed hourly labor rates, it's my recommendation to the city engineer to renew the contract for electrical and fiber optic maintenance to Thunder Bay Electric for 5 years at the proposed labor rates, with the possibility of allowing for one additional 5-year renewal before the contract is void. And I know that there was some questions about our total expenditures with Thunder Bay Electric. In 2015, calendar year 2015, we spent about $48,100 with them. In calendar year 16, about $42,740. And to date this year, we're at $41,500. In addition, over that same time period, we've also paid them an additional $224,022. Now that could be for work that has been bid out, and they're the successful bidder, which happens a lot at the water and wastewater plants. They've done a number of big ticket items at the water and wastewater plant. Or if there's any specialty projects that we've had them do. They also have in the past performed maintenance on the bridge. Since the bridge rehab this past year, we'll be taking on a more proactive role in that bridge maintenance. So you'll probably see their costs associated with that going down a little bit.
And the dollar figures you gave us of 48, 42, 45, those are strictly for any repairs, maintenance, updates in there as well, or?
Typically the updates, some of them have been updates, but typically we'll try to bid those out for, depending on the project and the expense of the project.
Has there been much on the fiber optic as far as repairs or anything?
Very little, but we need to have somebody on task if one of them gets broken, that we can have them there immediately to get it repaired back in service.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions?
We renewed the contract for electrical and fiber optic maintenance to Thunder Bay Electric for 5 years at the proposed rates.
Second.
Noack,
Yes.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen.
Yes.
Thank you, Rich. Next up is a donation offer of the historic Alpena fire truck by the Zolneric family. Before Bush is here.
Good evening. With us tonight, we have Lucianne King, who is daughter of Len Zolneric and has been our contact on this project, and also Lieutenant Tim Slosser, hiding in the back, has been doing all the point work on this. Mr. Zolneric, as you all know, was a lifelong Alpena resident and businessman. He passed away in September at the age of 79. But one of his passions that he had for a number of years was painstakingly restoring this beautiful 1941 fire truck. The two photographs there are two that I found from our archives when it was still in service. I believe the one on the left is taken probably 50s, and the one on the right was taken very early in its life, because there's a 1937 ambulance at the other end of that same picture before I cropped it. We've been approached by his family regarding the truck. It was his wish that it be restored, that he restored it, used it in parades and so forth, and it was his wish that it be cared for and remain in Alpena. The Alpena Fire Department has a 146-year history, which is highly, highly unusual. One reason for that was that volunteer firefighters weren't used to maintain horses back in the day, and so it was originally horse-drawn apparatus. Our first steam engine is actually in the Besser Museum, and it's a beautiful specimen if you ever get to see it. But unfortunately, the museum didn't have room for this truck, although it is absolutely gorgeous. The family would like to offer the truck to the city of Alpena Fire Department as a token of our history that we can show proudly for years to come. Legend has it that only 2 Mack fire trucks were made in 1941. All the rest of Mack's manufacturing capacity was used for military vehicles that year, except for 2 fire trucks, and that's one of them. Kind of a neat story about it. We have room for it in the public safety storage facility next door to the station. We've cleaned out everything and made it all nice so that it will stay in pristine condition in a heated garage. That's the utility building that we share with the police department. We keep the ATVs and boats and so forth over there as well. We would bring the truck out for the 2 annual parades and possibly some community events, Relay for Life, Art on the Bay, something like that, Tunnel to Towers. That'd be a great place to put it out on the lawn at the thing. I spoke with Doug Rosnowski, our city mechanic. It turns out that he actually helped in the restoration of the truck years ago when he was owner of Francis Service in Ossining, and is more than willing to work on it should it need work in the future. However, it is fully functional at this point and not in need of any repair. Therefore, we don't anticipate any costs with the exception of a little bump in insurance next year, which will be mitigated by the retiring of an ambulance that will be coming up that year. It's simply another vehicle in the fleet policy. So what I'm coming to you tonight is asking your authorization simply to accept the donation. It's not going to cost us anything at this point, but we would be responsible for it. It would be the city's asset, just like every other Alpena fire truck. The pumping apparatus still works. I guess we could send it on a call, but I don't think so. But I'm hoping that you'll recognize and accept this most generous donation from our local citizens.
Bill, is there any plan to somehow honor the family for donating it? Whether
Yes.
it's a license plate or a plaque or?
Yes, we're working on that. We want to do a public dedication. We're hoping to run the truck in the parade this week with the family. And then after that, we'll do a formal recognition. We didn't want to do it tonight because it really is up to you to accept it first before we become presumptuous or anything. But yes, there will definitely be recognition.
Let's get to it.
I would say no to that.
I don't know that there's any issues to it, Luciano. We certainly appreciate your family's consideration in us, because probably no telling where it would have ended up. Maybe not. So.
Ready for a motion?
I don't see that anybody's got any opposition to that. Any questions for the chief before?
Very excited. I move we accept the 1941 Mack fire truck from the Zolneric family.
Second.
To be housed in our fire department.
Second.
She got your second.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Sexton,
Yes.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah.
Big yes. Not a no.
Thank you. Next up is traffic control order 417, all day and overnight parking in the Carter Street lot.
I'm just trying to figure it out. Police get candy, Bill gets a fire truck. We're doing something wrong.
You got a broken water main.
You got
We just got a new water main.
Hey, just got a new one, baby.
The attached temporary traffic control order, TCO, was executed and implemented on November 6, 2017. While the signage is not in place, the signs are on order, and enforcement of the all-day and overnight parking has been suspended. Basically, what this will do is allow for all-day and overnight parking in, they call it the Carter Street lot, but it's the one off from Carter Street behind the old waterfront building alongside the river. Already a portion of that parking lot is committed as overflow parking for the Holiday Inn. So they have a certain number of spots they're allowed to park in overnight. This was brought to us by the DDA and was reviewed by them and supported by the DDA parking committee. So
And the full board.
and the full board.
Yeah.
So, we do have that support. So it's my recommendation to city engineer that the attached TCO be approved effective immediately. And like I said, I've discussed it with the DDA. They have not been doing enforcement, even though the signs have not been there. And the same thing with Chief Jett. I have discussed it with him, and there's not been any enforcement action on their part.
I personally am glad to see this happen. We've needed overnight parking in downtown for a long time. So, that's my 2 cents.
I don't have any issues with this. Matter of fact, I wouldn't be opposed to the committee looking into more overnight parking in elsewhere.
Yeah, it's been brought up, and we just felt since there may be a few issues with it, we're just gonna have to work out, but I think there'll be something going back to it before
Kind of a test project to see if we have to modify it as far as
March or April.
Okay.
like snow plowing, things like that, we can work in this
Yeah.
one.
Winter has its challenges already, so.
How many spaces are in that lot?
Not off the top of my head.
30?
Oh, no, 50 or 60, I think.
64, I think.
There's some in that lot.
It's probably two overnight.
Yeah, one of the questions is if we want to make all the parking overnight free, that kind of would renting out spaces in that would probably eliminate. It may not be the best thing in every lot to do that, or at least not on a year-round basis, simply because it will add more issues of the snow removal on a few lots. It may be fine, but I don't know if we want to do it on every lot. They have to work around that. So those are things we'll look at, but I'm sure it will go through the parking committee to the full board, and then something recommended to council.
We'll leave it to them. All right, thank you, Rich.
I move we approve traffic control order 4-17.
Second.
When you're ready.
Walagora,
Aye.
Johnson,
Yes.
Nielsen,
Yes.
Noah,
Yes.
and Sexton.
Yes.
That's it, huh?
That's it.
Okay. I move we adjourn to closed session to discuss water and sewer litigation.
Second.